Remember those 10-minute meals Mom used to whip up? The ones that came together fast, but still filled the whole family up? Back then, these meals meant a hot plate after school, a quick supper before 7 p.m., or something warm on the table for Dad when he got home from a late shift. So why did the meals that worked the hardest disappear first? Canned spinach with vinegar and sugar. This stuff wasn't appetizing on its own, but it made do when we were on a very tight budget. It was one of the few vegetables folks could always count on during rationing. To make it edible, home cooks used a little trick. Heat it on the stove, stir, serve. Back then, Mom did her best to make every meal taste good enough to eat and stretch every dollar a working man earned to fill every plate. Cream cheese and olive sandwiches were the kind of snack Mom could make in minutes, and they always felt special. These were for quiet moments at home. A quick bite before Dad's shift, or something light to hold you over after school. You'd spread the cream cheese thick on soft white bread, then top it with sliced green olives. The sandwich was smooth and just fancy enough to feel like a treat. Sometimes she'd cut them into triangles or pinwheels. Other times just a square on a plate with a sprig of parsley. No stove, no pan, just a butter knife and 5 spare minutes. They were simple, fast, and always hit the spot. A strange little combo that stuck in your memory. Ants on a log sounds like kid food because it was. Celery sticks, peanut butter, raisins lined up like little bugs marching. But this wasn't just some cute snack mothers cooked. This was Depression-era genius. Celery was cheap, sometimes free from the neighbor's garden. Peanut butter filled you up when meat was scarce. Those raisins made it taste like dessert. Kids would crunch through the celery, scrape off every bit of peanut butter, save the raisins for last. We serve our children organic everything now. But ants on a log did what it promised, filled small stomachs, cost almost nothing. A jellied tomato juice cocktail in the 40s and 50s was one of those quick dishes Mom could whip up in 10 minutes, then chill while attending to the rest of the evening meal. It wasn't regular, but when Dad came home late from a long shift, something refreshing and easy like this gave the family a little lift. It was simple to make with tomato juice, gelatin, a dash of Worcestershire sauce, lemon and celery salt, then set in the fridge until ready. Served in small glasses or molds, it wasn't just a snack but a little touch of home pride. Sure, it was fancy for the times, but mostly it was quick, made with pantry staples, and gave busy families a break during hectic nights.
One-egg pancakes with raisins were a lifeline for the working family. 1 egg stretched across a skillet meant 6 to 8 hot cakes, and at least a fighting chance to start the day full. You'd stir flour, water, or milk, salt, and that one precious egg in a bowl, then toss in a handful of raisins to sweeten things without syrup. The batter was thin, more like crepes than flapjacks, but it cooked fast on a hot griddle, and filled the room with the kind of smell that gave hope. No one bragged about them, but they worked because they were enough to calm a hungry belly before school or day shift. Some cooks added butter or powdered sugar on better days, but even plain, they stuck to your ribs. Back then, necessity knew how to feed a family in 10 minutes or less. Mock chicken legs, or city chicken as some folks would call it, were a clever Depression-era trick. Cubes of pork or veal, sometimes even ground meat. It fooled the eye and filled the belly, stretching scarce meat so families didn't feel they were missing out. For kids who loved fried chicken, it was almost a real thing. Peanut butter and bacon toast might sound ridiculous today, but back then, it was a real snack that fed hungry kids, late-night workers, and soldiers on leave. You'd toast a slice of white bread to a golden brown, spread it with a thick layer of peanut butter, then pile on crispy bacon, hot from the pan, crackling with grease. The result was a sweet, nutty, and rich meal. and it came together fast. Wartime cookbooks from the 1940s featured this protein-packed pick-me-up, using what was available and shelf-stable to make something indulgent. Some added banana slices or a sprinkle of sugar or cinnamon, but even plain, it did the job. This old-school snack was a survival trick with a sweet aftertaste. For many, it was the only thing keeping spirits high after a long shift or a cold walk home. Cottage cheese with pineapple rings was fast fuel for busy working families. No stove, no mess. Just a scoop of cottage cheese straight from the tub, dropped into a pineapple ring from a can. Maybe a cherry or a dusting of paprika if you were feeling fancy. But most days, it was just about getting something on the plate fast. This was the no-cook lunch packed into metal lunch boxes, served in school cafeterias, or thrown together after a long shift. Sweet, salty, and packed with just enough protein and sugar to keep you going. It looked like a treat, but functioned like survival. Today, it feels retro. Back then, it was Tuesday.
Hot dog roll-ups with cheese weren't just for kids. They were for those moments when money was tight, time was short, and hunger was loud. You'd take a slice of bread, roll it flat, place a hot dog inside, sprinkle on cheese, then roll it up like a cigar. Baked or broiled until the cheese bubbled and the bread crisped, about 10 minutes tops. These showed up in post-war cookbooks and budget flyers. Cheap, cheerful, and adaptable. Use mustard, relish, or whatever cheese was on hand. Some moms even brushed the outside with butter. They made for lunch or dinner when the fridge was nearly bare, often served with tomato soup or carrot sticks. Simple sides for simple food. But don't be fooled, these roll-ups were crunchy, melty, and satisfying. Fast food at home before fast food chains ruled the street. Tomato soup with crushed saltines and a butter swirl. It sounds simple because it was, and that was the whole point. You'd heat up Campbell's, crumble in those square crackers, and drop a pat of butter right before serving. The butter melted across that red surface, swirling like cream in coffee. And before Dad was home, canned soup tasted homemade. This was every working mother's 10-minute salvation. It fed feverish kids on snow days, fathers off double shifts, and college students stretching grocery money. The crackers crunched, then softened just enough to thicken the soup. Serve it with grilled cheese or eat it straight from the bowl wrapped in a blanket. We chase heirloom tomatoes now like buried treasure. But tomato soup with crushed saltines and a butter swirl only needed 3 ingredients, 60 cents, and someone who cared enough to feed you. Egg curry and cream sauce was a 10-minute dinner that tasted like it took hours. Start with hard-boiled and peeled eggs, then make a quick sauce from cream, butter, curry powder, and maybe some broth. Heat it all, pour it over the eggs, and you're done. Mid-century American cookbooks borrowed this from Anglo-Indian dishes, but adjusted it for pantry staples. No exotic spices needed, just curry powder and a saucepan. It showed up during Lent or any time meat was off the table, making you feel like you were eating something elegant. It worked great over toast or rice, and best of all, it used up eggs that were about to expire. A fast food back then was creamy, seasoned, and homemade. This was one of those simple, cozy meals now completely overlooked. Celery logs with cheese whiz and paprika were survival snacks when your family was coming through the door and dinner wasn't ready. A bunch of celery. Fill each stalk with bright orange cheese whiz or pimento spread and dust them with paprika like it was fancy. Moms made 10 in under 10 minutes. No heating, no chopping, no mess. They showed up at birthday parties, school lunches, and PTA meetings because they were cheap, colorful, and looked like you tried. Kids devoured them. Dads came home from work and grabbed 2 before the real meal. Homemakers shared them in magazines because they worked, not because they wowed. Today, they get mocked. But back then, they filled a plate when the fridge was near empty and kept the family fed, one crunchy bite at a time. Bologna cups with peas and cheese were what happened when creativity met desperation. A slice of bologna, cut around the edges and dropped into a muffin tin, curled into a crispy cup as it baked, with canned peas and shredded cheese inside. This came from 1970s cookbooks and budget flyers. Colorful, fast, and surprisingly filling. Kids thought it was fun. Parents loved the no-fuss cleanup. No chopping, no thawing, just pantry staples turned into a warm food you could eat with a fork or your hands. It wasn't much, but when money was tight and time even tighter, it was clever. It fed a family and made them smile. When a hot and dependable dinner was needed fast, salmon patties were the old standby that never let a family down. You just need a can of salmon, a cracked egg, chopped onion, and a few seasonings from the pantry. Rolled in cornmeal and dropped into a hot skillet, they crisped up in minutes. These were filling, golden, and rich with flavor. Cookbooks from the 60s through the 80s swore by them. And so did moms trying to stretch $1. Whether topped with ketchup or lemon juice, they made a quick dinner that felt complete. Leftovers turned into sandwiches the next day, and no one complained. In homes where money is tight, this was gourmet enough. And when leftovers wouldn't stretch far enough, spaghetti pie stepped in to save the night. You'd take whatever pasta was left from yesterday, mix in an egg, a sprinkle of cheese, and press it all into a pie dish. 10 minutes in the oven turned it into something brand new. Firm, cheesy, and crisp around the edges. It looked like a baked casserole, but it cut like pie and filled like dinner. This was Depression-era creativity passed down and reimagined by busy parents in the 60s and 70s. No thawing, no saucepans, no waste, just one hot oven and a little know-how. Add herbs if they were on hand, or a spoonful of tomato sauce on top, but even plain, it worked. Back then, the measure of success wasn't fancy. It was feeding everyone, fast, with what you had. And this one did just that. Quick corn fritters with a syrup drizzle were the kind of dream roadside food you could cook up from a pantry that looked half empty. All it took was a can of corn, some flour, 1 egg, a little baking powder, and just enough milk to pull it all together. Drop spoonfuls into a hot skillet and let the edges brown and crisp. In 10 minutes, you had golden bites, crunchy outside, soft inside, that could go sweet or savory. Diners served them across the South and Midwest, but at home, they were born from need. Folks who didn't have cornmeal and syrup used flour and jam, and the result was satisfying. Some added scallions or peppers, others tossed in cheese. In homes with cold floors and tight budgets, these fritters filled more than stomachs. Pimento cheese on toast points was the ultimate Southern fast, frugal, and full of bite meal. You'd stir together shredded cheddar, mayo, chopped pimentos, maybe a splash of vinegar, or a dash of Worcestershire if you had it. Then you'd spread it thick on triangle-cut toast, white bread, buttered and broiled until crisp. Some served it cold, others slid it under the broiler until bubbly and golden. Either way, it took 10 minutes, tops. Every Southern cookbook had a version, usually handed down by women who knew how to feed a crowd on pocket change. The spread had personality, sharp, creamy, tangy, with just enough heat to raise an eyebrow. Sure, you could scoop it onto crackers or celery sticks, but toast points gave it weight, crunch, a little dignity. It showed up at weddings, funerals, baby showers, church suppers, and backyard chats. Today, they call it gourmet. Back then, it was just Tuesday, quick, clever, and pulled straight from the fridge. If these 10-minute meals moms used to whip up brought back a memory or two, we'd love to have you stick around. To keep these memories alive, we share stories like this every day on our channel or community. If that sounds like your kind of table, watch any of this video appearing on your screen now. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and we'll see you in the next one.